Welcome to the Stellaris show. How's everybody doing tonight there in America? And we are doing a tier list on government and ethics. So we did Origins tier list yesterday. If you missed that, go ahead and check it out. I might actually make a thumbnail for that in this one because these are kind of special ones. They're not your run-of-the-mill stream, so I don't really, I think we could probably have a specialized thumbnail for these. I might even, like, re-upload them as real videos, we'll see. Or chop them up. I think definitely want to make shorts out of these, that's for sure. I think that would actually be very useful. That's probably what I could do next after I chop up my original tutorial video. For Stellaris. Yeah, the shorts keep being successful. I keep getting positive comments on them. And so as long as you guys give indicators of interest on the shorts that I've been coming out with, that I've been cutting from the tutorial video, I will continue to do so. You know, so I kind of let the numbers guide me on that one. I mean, obviously the numbers aren't everything. It's kind of a combination between how I feel, the numbers, and how you guys feel, right? Or how I think you guys feel. Yeah, there's a lot of perception here, right? And you can only know so much or do so much. So, you know, I kind of just fit them within those, you know, circles within circles, that kind of thing, like, you know. So where the circles intersect, that's where I want to be. Those circles there. Anyway, didn't mean to start talking about circles. We're just talking about Stellaris today. I had a great time yesterday with the tier list. Let's see how we do today. I'm a little bit of a different mood, but I still overall feel better than I did lately. But I felt great yesterday. It was great to connect with you guys. By the way, I am aware that I may be having sound issues. This new mic I got, I am not impressed with so far. It is better than the broken mic I had before, but not much. There's a huge problem with it that's going to make me get a new one, and that is there is a button next to my mute button that is way too easy to press, that and you know, that changes the way my mic sounds. You may notice that my voice might be cutting out. If that's happening, I apologize. Like I said, the mic work is ongoing. Hopefully it's not unwatchable. It doesn't make it unwatchable. If you're wanting to off-click because of the mic noise, please let me know immediately. I might even pause or stop the stream to address the issue if it's too bad. So just, yeah, let me know on that one. Otherwise, I'm going to continue. So, yeah, let's just get into it. So I'm going to do things a little differently for this tier list. I am going to go ahead and... by the way, that's a preview of something that I'm working on. I got many different pots cooking at the same time. That's one of them. But I'll talk more about that some other time, not in this video. So... Alright. So we're going to get into government ethics. Really... Honestly, when it comes to building an empire, it's basically the most important things on there. It's basically a toss-up between, you know, your origin, your government, and ethics. They pretty much are the meat and potatoes of your empire, of your build. Everything else is just fluff, other than the traits. The traits matter too. So yeah, it is. And it can be usually not as to the same, it doesn't make the same degree of difference. I think it isn't as important most of the time as origins and government and ethics, but traits absolutely can make an impact, can and do make an impact. Especially if you pick certain origins, you know, build combinations. So yeah, traits do matter, not saying they don't. And in some cases, let's back out of this empire here. Just go to create new, and just go with your standard, normal, you know, Your standard normal empire. So now this is going to be a little different how we're going to do this, because with government and ethics, the kind of civics that you have access to change depending on what your ethic and your authority is. So we are going to have to navigate that a little bit. So I might backtrack. I might have to cover again something that I already covered, sort of, in order to cover something else. Like, for example, you know, I may think I've gotten all the pacifist combinations, just to find that later I have to go pacifist again with egalitarian or something to in order for something to work. Now, with the civics, and that kind of leads me to what I should really cover first. I really think I should cover the civics last. I really do. Simply because it's going to be easier to just start with the ethics or even the authority. Honestly, I think I should probably start with the smallest first and save the best for last, which is the civics. Obviously, the civics are the most... The civics in the origin, I think, really are the most impactful out of all the features in a build. All the factors. They alter the playstyle the most. So, you know, the other stuff does too, to a degree, but not nearly as much as civics and origins do. Origins obviously can completely change the way you play, and what kind of empire you have. Civics, there are many civics out there that are basically complete overhauls. That's what I call them. I call them complete overhauls, where you are playing basically a niche. You are in a niche. You're not like any other build. You're not anywhere near standard. Like Devouring Swarm. Devouring Swarm is an overhaul civic. It completely changes your experience and the way you play. 100%. It is a complete overhaul. It's like playing a different game. There are no similarities between the way you play a Devouring Swarm and the way you play a normal Hive. There really isn't. Same with like Determined Exterminator versus Rogue Servitor. Both of those are will basically completely overhaul your your progression, your experience as a from a normal machine empire. Maybe not Rogue Servitor as much. They actually have a lot in common with your standard machine empire, but Determined Exterminator, Driven Assimilator, absolutely, and they're different from each other too. So so civics and origins can completely overhaul the game experience and your play style. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with authority and just kind of wade into this here a little here. Enough talk. I'm going to try to be better about the length of the stream this time, even though we have more to cover technically. If I don't have much to... The rule for me is, if I don't have much to say about something, I will simply throw it in a tier and move on. And if you guys have questions, or if you can leave comments or whatever, and I'll answer them. And when I do that, it's almost always going to be pretty self-explanatory. So if you still have questions after that, I get it. But I mean, I don't think I'm going to be skipping anything that is not easily skipped. Okay. Like, for example, I won't be skimming over Determined Exterminator. Obviously, that deserves an explanation. But something like Cutthroat Politics, does anybody even fucking use that? So that's going to be an easy one to grade, I think. Byzantine bureaucracy, a little more explanation necessary there, but not really much. Because a lot of these civics and stuff, there's just not that much to it. It's pretty straightforward. So the straightforward stuff I'm going to try to skim through fast, but okay. So anyway, let's get started with democratic. Let's get started with authority, and we're going to go with democratic. Oh, that reminds me, that's what I was going to do. So I'm going to be switching back and forth between between Stellaris and our tier list. So we're using Microsoft Word for our tier list because I refuse to pay a paywall for a goddamn Word template. Sorry, not happening. That's what it is. It's just a fancy template. That should be free. That shouldn't be something that you need to have a subscription or a account for. That's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway. So let's start with Democratic. Now, it's kind of hard to put that in. Honestly, all the authorities have their place and they have their use. So really, I don't really think I'm going to be putting any of the authorities really in the F tier. And here's another thing you got to understand. If I put something in the F tier, it's not the traditional, it is completely useless or it's absolutely terrible. It's simply so niche that it's, it's next to useless, or it's not, or I don't use it ever. It's useless to me. But I'll put things in the F tier that somebody else will absolutely be required for their runs. And like, for example, the quantum catapult origin, for example, I forgot what it was. Slingshot to the stars. Yeah. I put Slingshot to the stars in F tier. However, there are a lot of gimmicks and exploits that can be used with that. And playstyles, people that love doing that. And also it's a meme. So it does have its place. So even though it's in the F tier, it can still be useful. Now, if I put it in derp tier, yeah, it is like, why did you put this in here, Paradox? Basically, that's derp tier. Like, there's no reason for it to exist. It is absolutely useless. Like, there's only one I put in the derp tier yesterday, and that was the gateway origin. Was just like, this is a complete waste of an origin. Like, there's no reason to have this. It's impossible to make this good or useful. So yeah, derp is the real F tier. Okay, that is just like no use whatsoever. So F tier is like incredibly niche, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's still a valid playstyle, or it can be, and it can be enjoyable in the right hands, with the right person or with the right build. So it's not, it doesn't mean it's terrible or wrong or that you're bad or terrible if you use it. That is not what F tier means on this tier list. It just means very niche, like very, very limited use is, I guess. So with that being said, hold on, let me pull up my window again. All right. So when it comes to Democratic, Democratic is going to be S for some people, depending on what build you use, and it's going to be F for some people, depending on what you use. So this is where my subjectivity comes in. How do I rate this for me? I think is really how I'm going to place this. And I got to tell you, I do not like Democratic. I never have. There are good builds that allows me to have. So really, like I said, I really don't think I'm going to place any authority in the F tier. They all can be absolutely useful in the right situation. However, as the authority itself, Democratic is really annoying because I absolutely hate getting forced to have my leader be a scientist, because that takes away that scientist, keeps them from manning a ship, which is really stupid, and I hope Paradox gets off their ass and fixes that sometime, because it's unacceptable. It's like, how is that balanced? That's ridiculous. I need to be able to have as many science ships as I can. So yeah, just cutting into the science ships every 10 years, having to deal with an election every 10 years, I don't like it. I've never liked it. So I'm definitely putting that in C tier. I would put it in F if I can get away with it, but I can't really put it in F in good conscience. because I know it is useful. And I have been builds I've used in the past where I have picked democratic, but make no mistake, I have always picked democratic in spite of it, not because of it. So I have picked democratic because of the build, not because I actually like that authority. So, or its bonuses. I'm not a fan of the bonuses. I'm not a fan of the every 10 years. I'm not a fan of the elections period. I want my leader to stay the way they are as long as I can. So, so obviously cannot be that goddamn big. So we'll just go ahead. Now, this may be hard to see. I apologize, but we'll go ahead and put it on there. All right. So democratic. That leaves oligarchic. So let's go look at that real quick here. So we're gonna look at oligarchic. Oh, I'll tell you what democratic does real quick. So the election every 10 years is annoying as hell. The faction approval, I don't even notice that bonus. Leader pool size +1, don't give a fuck about leader pool. Resets government reform and policy cooldowns when a new ruler is elected. Now, this might be useful in some niche situations. At the same time, though, it is, I don't really think it's going to really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's not really, it's usually not a thing, or I really have never encountered a build or played a game where I had to reform my government other than the initial time that I can do it for that third civic. So not very useful there, I think, or very niche in that. You know, faction resource output +2%, edict fund +5. I mean, edict fund is okay. But yeah, faction resource, I'm not even going to notice that. And 5 edicts fund is nothing. So, though that will increase as your leader gets better. Now, why do I not? I should be putting this in F tier, right? Depending, you know, based on the way what I've said about it, the way I've said it. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but the reason I don't is, again, just like any authority, there are a lot of useful civics that require this, and fun playstyles that you can do that this would be required. But again, you're picking it in spite of the build, not you're not picking the build because of this. You're picking the build in spite of this, basically, I think is the right way to say it. So there's a couple, I guess I could try to come up with some examples, like I think parliamentary system. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Okay, though, again, faction resource output. I'm just not really don't really give a I've never given a shit about factions. They've always seemed to be ineffective to me compared to the other mechanics and features of the game. Not saying they don't do anything. Obviously, that extra unity is nice, but I don't think really factions alone aren't going to make or break your game. That's kind of, if anything, they make it annoying. Like, they mess with your happiness and stuff, and it's just another annoying thing that makes the game more tedious, I think. The whole happiness thing. I'm honestly, and this, like I said, this is just my opinion. Some people love this shit. Some people love the happiness stuff and everything. And it is a popular mechanic in a lot of games. I've never completely agreed with it. I've just kind of been like, you know what? People are just going to get along. I mean, it is somewhat realistic, but like, it just, every game I've ever played where happiness was a thing, it is always, without exception, just been a pain in the ass. Just an annoying pain in the ass. At best, it's like, your needs, your basic needs in a survival game, where it's more of your antagonist than it is like helpful in any way. So, yeah, it's happiness mechanics have been one of those annoying things that I've had to deal with in my favorite games. I mean, there's some games, like, you could argue RimWorld would really not be RimWorld, and it would really not function or work without the happiness mechanic. And I have enjoyed some RimWorld in the past and do enjoy that game. I don't really like the direction they're going in, though. You know, I'm not a SCP fan. I'm not a fan of any of that shit. I don't like games like Phasmophobia. I know I'm in the minority. I know a lot of you guys like that stuff. I don't believe in ghosts, man. I do have some supernatural stories, but they have nothing to do with any of that. They're in regards to other events that have happened to me in my life. And I might talk about that sometime, but not right now, because it's not appropriate to talk about that right now. But no, I don't believe in ghosts, and, like, you know, and yeah, so we'll just not talk about that right now. But anyway, but yeah, happiness is one of those mechanics that I'm just kind of like, I tolerate it, you know? I've never been a big fan of it. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it's just something I have to, you know, I've never enjoyed it. So, but yeah, so there's things like parliamentary system that, you know, people rant and rave about. Meritocracy, now, you can't get that with oligarchy, and we'll talk about that next. But meritocracy is incredibly good. It is incredibly good. Especially that combined with egalitarian, which I do believe that... so you can't use autocratic government forms. So basically, if you pick egalitarian, you have to use... In fact, if you want fanatic egalitarian, you have to use democratic. So that's the other thing here. If you want to do the fanatic egalitarian meritocracy combo, you have to pick democratic. So that's another example of a very powerful build that's very powerful, but it really, if I could pick another authority other than that, I think it would be even more powerful if like, say, I could pick imperial with that setup. So yeah, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and move on here to oligarchic. So oligarchic is, like, kind of the way to go if you're gonna do a democratic or an egalitarian government form. That's what I prefer out of the two egalitarian authorities. I mean, the election time, you know, timetable isn't terrible. You know, every 20 years is far enough apart to not really disrupt you, unless they pick a scientist, but which they usually do. But either way, I mean, it's still better than democratic because they always pick the scientist anyway. So, yeah, paradox can either prevent them from picking a scientist to lead the empire, or make the leader of the empire allowed to pilot a science ship. Please, I'm begging you. You know, it's ridiculous the way it is right now. But anyway, effective counselor skill +2. So if you like leader stuff, you know, that's good. Good leader optimization there. Council also. Council experience gain and edict fund. So they're not bad bonuses other than the election. Yeah, I hate the election mechanics. But other than that, and as far as election mechanics goes, it's definitely more benign than democratic. So yeah, oligarchic, it is definitely more useful, I think, than and more manageable than democratic. However, it's still not my first choice or anywhere near my first choice. I would definitely have to put it in the C tier as well. Though I want to put it above democratic. So yeah, that's the thing. It is going to be in C tier, but it is definitely better than democratic. So if you can get away with you know doing oligarchic in your build instead of democratic, always choose oligarchic, in my opinion. I think it's better, and I always do. So now sometimes you can't. Like if you're going to be fanatic egalitarian, then you have to pick democratic. But every time you have an opportunity to pick oligarchic instead of democratic, do so. That's my suggestion. All right, so we're moving on. We're going to be so next is dictatorial. Okay, so let me see, how am I doing on time? Dictatorial is decent, and it is required for some absolute banger builds. What the obvious one being under one rule. Any build with that in it, you will need dictatorial. So it's required for that. Also, the benefits aren't bad. So, like Imperial, you won't change rulers until they die, which I love that. That is the most optimal, in my opinion, way to run things. Yeah, that's the most optimal, less headachy thing way to manage your empire leaders. Leader pool size -1, won't even notice that. Ruler and experience gain plus 25%. So that scales really well. That synergizes really well with leader bonuses and leader origins, like under one rule. So it's going to enhance that. So that's really good. Pop amenities usage, that's not a big deal. Not really going to notice that. But Edict Fund plus 10, where oligarchic is only plus 5 and democratic is only plus 5. So even on paper, the numbers look better, right? So this clearly already looks way more useful. But let's see what kind of things it qualifies for. Now, let's see. It's kind of hard to tell because I have to set things up a certain way. So we'll just, we'll get to that later. But I'll tell you right now, like you can get under one rule for sure. Just that alone makes dictatorial really good. A really good pick, but also just in general, even if you're doing it in a standard empire, if you're authoritarian or whatever, or xenophobe, that's also a very good pick. All around, as far as like the authority itself, the bonuses, if you look at the bonuses, the overall usefulness, I just think there's way more good builds that you can work with dictatorial than with democratic and egalitarian. So I think it's a lot less niche. I will say already that Imperial is better, and yeah, that's definitely going to be S tier among, in my opinion, amongst authorities. Though actually, I think it might be A tier. I know I'm getting ahead, but yeah, I mean, there's only so many left. So, but I think for sure, at the very least, dictatorial. Yeah, it's all around decent. So B is the decent tier. Like it's not the greatest, but it's definitely not a bad pick. Like you definitely can work with it. It's not too niche. It can work in most builds, a lot of builds. So it has its place. And there are some absolute S tier builds that require this authority anyway, so I don't fucking know how to. I think my spelling's gotten worse over the years, guys. I used to be really good speller, but man, that has just been going out the window in the past few years. I guess I don't know if it's my age or what. It probably is. Let's see. I'm 41, but anyway. So now we're at Imperial. I definitely want to put this in the A tier. Yeah, at least the A tier. I think as far as standard empires go, this is really the best you can get, I think. It's just amazing. Like, you look at everything. For one, ruler death, so that's... And you get an heir. So there's no randomness when they die as to what's going to happen. You can plan for it in advance. So, for example, If I know that my imperial heir is a scientist, which is annoying and can happen, then I can prepare for that in advance, right? And can prepare for going that long without that extra scientist. Okay, I can do that. Or maybe they're a commander, you know, whatever. And I could even, you know, set them up, you know, for, you know, make them more powerful so that when they do get the ruler, you know, they're going strong. So yeah, the succession type is amazing. And then the capital system effects, I mean, you get 10% more resources from your capital. That's significant, especially in the beginning of the game. Leader pool size -1, again, don't give a fuck about it, not going to notice it. Never have. Max influence from power projection. This is actually what makes it the greatest out of the normal standard authorities that you don't need any DLC to get. Influence is very difficult to increase, especially in the beginning of the game, especially for vanilla empires. Okay, vanilla empires, especially standard empires. Your standard empire is going to have much harder time raising their influence gain, meaning the amount of influence you generate every month. It is pretty static most of the game. So anything that raises that, especially something you can get in the beginning of the game, is extremely valuable. Now, there are some YouTubers out there that are like, oh, influence is useless. Bullshit. You're just not using it correctly. That's my opinion. I don't agree with that at all. I just know. If you're floating, now some builds, and I have also often floated a lot of influence, but I would rather float influence than not have any. Okay, it's kind of like money, right? Having lots of money isn't necessarily required, but not having money is very bad. Kind of like that rap song anyway. So yeah, I know I was paraphrasing there, but okay, so but max influence from power projection, what this means is, for you new guys, is when you have this authority, the more ships you have, the more influence you're going to generate from this bonus. So you know, power projection, that's what it is. The more ships you have, the greater, you know, your power projection is going to be up to a certain point. So this raises the cap of that. So all you need to know is that this gives you more influence, at least potentially, as long as you make ships. So as long as you make ships, you're going to get more influence having this authority, and that is invaluable, especially early game. So what I've done with this many times is I will get this, I will start the game, and I will start pumping out ships. And next thing you know, I've got 4 or 5 influence. I am claiming double the systems that everyone else around me is claiming, and I get to get those systems and get those planets secured before anybody else does. It's just, you know, that's a feed forward loop right there. I mean, it's kind of like why in the beginning of like most RTS games, if you can kill a couple people's, or if you can kill your opponents, a couple of your opponent's workers, it really just sets them back for the rest of the game. It's that same principle. You get a lot of influence in the beginning of the game, you're going to be, you know, not gonna say it's like RTS where it's permanent, but you will have an advantage for a while, especially if it continues. You will have, and then also influence is required for so many more cool things other than just claiming systems. Like I said, if you're floating influence, you're not using it right to an extent. It's very possible you're not, or that your build, you know, there are so many influence dumps, habitats, okay, for one. Subject agreements is another big influence dump. You have, and very required, megastructures. So megastructures required. Even messing with the galactic community requires influence. Espionage. Not that I use those or that those are good, but they are a thing. You know, do use influence to do your operations. So, yeah, there are all kinds of ways to dump your influence. And, you know, so, and also branch offices if you're a megacorp, which we'll talk to about soon. So really, I've got to say, and I'm actually am going to put this at S tier. Okay. I actually am going to put this at S tier. And because the fact that it's a vanilla authority, just that it's the best vanilla authority, makes it more powerful and less niche than, or more universal than any of the DLC authorities that I'm about to discuss next. So we'll go ahead and do Imperial. So yeah, always pick Imperial. My suggestion, always pick Imperial when you get the chance. It is definitely worth it in most cases. If you can do it. Now sometimes you can't, like if you're doing meritocracy or whatever, you're not going to be able to pick that. There's going to be some builds you can't pick that with. But if you can get Imperial Authority, if you have a choice, always pick that. That's basically, in my opinion, that's the GOAT for standard empires, or, you know, basically non-Gestalt, non-Megacorp empires. So Imperial. Now let's go back to our. Let's go back to Stellaris. Actually, oh yeah, I forgot to put that there. So yeah, we put down Imperial. So yeah, dictatorial, democratic, oligarchic, Imperial. So quick recap here for the standard, your standard run-of-the-mill vanilla empires. You know, basically it goes democratic, oligarchic, dictatorial, and then the best is Imperial. So now we'll move on. Now, so now we're getting into the DLC, some of the DLC authorities that have come out over the years. The first one comes from Utopia. It's called Hive Mind. Many of you know it. It is very popular. It is amazing. And it is absolutely S tier. There's no way I'm not putting this S tier. This is one of the funnest. Yeah, really, honestly, the rest of them I'm probably going to put in S tier. Maybe not Megacorp. I'm still debating that in my head. But Hive Mind and Machine Intelligence for sure, S tier. Do I really need to explain, guys? Do I really need to explain? I mean, I have videos about this playstyle. I mean, about this authority, or in this build. It is just, you know, it is one of the greatest, you know. I don't think there really is a GOAT in Stellaris, like, as far as, like, you know, build. I don't think there's really a GOAT build in Stellaris, but I think there are GOATs. We have multiple GOATs, you know, multiple absolute bangers. And, you know, just your standard Hive Mind, in my opinion, is one of the best that you can pick, especially as a new guy. I mean, if you haven't bought any DLC before and you get, say you get Utopia and you play this, you will not look back. I'm telling you, that's what happened to me. I played this, I'm like, wow, I don't have to worry about consumer goods. Wow, I don't have to worry about happiness. Wow, wow, wow. And just, yeah. And it's fair. It's not totally broken in OP. No, it still has a lot of the same limitations that standard empires do. In fact, you know, it has to deal with habitability. Now, you could adjust it to where it doesn't have to deal with it as bad, but it still does. It's not like Machine Empire, where, especially how Machine Empire used to be. Okay. But yeah, Hive Mind's incredibly good. I'm not going to go into everything about it. If you want to know more about Hive Mind, just watch my Hive Mind video. I'll tell you all about it. But it's great. It's great. I highly recommend Hive Mind playthrough to anyone who hasn't done it yet. You won't regret it, I don't think. But also, Hive Mind enables a lot of really cool playstyles, or at least a couple. One of them being, in particular, Devouring Swarm. So you need Hive Mind to be Devouring Swarm. That's bottom line. Or any other Hive Mind Civic here, which, as you can see, is in yellow. So that's why when we get to Civics, it's going to be really complicated. But I need to speed things up. I'm behind schedule here. Let's get started. So yeah, I mean, you saw this coming. There's no way I'm not putting this in S tier. I mean, the playtime I've had with this this authority, it would just be a huge injustice to me personally if I were to put this any lower. And again, guys, this is subjective, right? This is my opinion. There are people out there, I'm sure, that think Hive Mind is stupid and do not like it at all. They didn't like Ender's Game. They didn't like the Tyranids in Warhammer 40k. They didn't like they didn't like the Borg. Well, that's machine, but still, I mean, they didn't like Gestalt consciousness stuff, or whatever. And you know what? If you're like that, I don't hate you. I disagree with you, but I think you're missing out. But again, teach their own. Salute. But I'm going to put this as S tier. This is S tier to me. And it's S tier to a lot of people. I mean, maybe I could give you the count for the people that have watched my Hive Mind video. At least those people like Hive Mind, right? Or thinking about it. So, but what do you think about Hive Mind? I would love to know. In fact, what do you think about, as always, give me your comments. Tell me what's your favorite authority? Why do you like it? Do you agree with me? Do you not? I mean, what's your opinion about authorities? What's your favorite one in particular? Because I know I'm going to get some of you that are like, I love Democratic and I think you should use it more. I'm like, okay, well, I might. We'll see. Maybe they'll come out with some stuff that make it more relevant, or maybe might balance it or whatever. But yeah, so Hive Mind's absolutely going up there. And okay, so let's go ahead and switch. I mean, the next one. I mean, fucking hold on, I have to. I mean, machine intelligence. Do I really need to discuss this? Why this is S tier? I don't think there is a single person, even the people that don't like this, that would disagree with me putting this in S tier. Yeah, it's too good. There's just too many. There's too much awesome content. I mean, really, yeah. No, machine intelligence, even more so than Hive Mind, I think. If I had to pick one authority that and I could only play that authority, it would be machine intelligence. Absolutely. So we're not even gonna spend. We're actually not gonna spend a lot of time on machine intelligence because it's pretty fucking obvious to everyone that that's. I mean, if I were to say there's a GOAT authority, it would be this one. I mean, simply from its power. The greatest builds. I mean, if you want to look at meta builds, right? The most powerful builds in the game right now, they're all machine. Most of them. And for many years, machines have been up there. Rogue Servitor. The Age of Rogue Servitor. Now, I don't think that's a thing anymore, but it was for a long time. Couple of years, just a year or two ago. Like, Rogue Servitor was all the rage. And, Arc Welders is a thing, and then Machine Age. Yeah, machine intelligence is hot. Hot. It's got even more civics that are amazing and really fun to play than Hive Mind does. So yeah, no reason not to put this at S tier. There's really no disputing it. Even people that don't like it I think will understand. Will even understand why this goes there. It's just too popular. It's the most popular, I think. It's the most powerful. I mean, it's really not denying this. It's self-evident. It is stupid powerful. I mean, it's been nerfed. In fact, machine intelligence, it continues to get nerfs, and it's still the GOAT, right? It's still fucking. I mean, to the point to where, you know, I've heard people in my Discord or seen people in my Discord say, "Yeah, I don't play machine intelligence because it's just too easy." I get it. I don't necessarily agree with that 100%, but I think really you make your own difficulty. You know, you make your own challenges. It's not the game that makes it. You know, you know, unless the game only has one difficulty, really, literally only has one, and there's no way you can make it. But that's impossible. You can always make rules for yourself. Wherever, like I remember, I was playing Terraria. Yeah, I played Terraria, and I did Ranger only, which is basically I just use bows. Very challenging. Bows, especially in the beginning of the game, very difficult to play with. Now, some people disagree, of course. Some Terraria players out there be like, "Oh, I love that. It's my favorite weapon." I mean, it was fun for me too, but it was also very incredibly challenging, especially at first. There was definitely a learning curve. Bows are hard to use in Terraria. I'm telling you, they're, at least to me, they're some of the hardest weapons. So I do believe firmly that you create your own challenge. So to anybody that says that, like, you know, stuff is too easy, why don't you crank up your own difficulty? You know, you could do a one planet challenge, or you could, you know, or actually, yeah, you could forbid yourself from doing machine intelligence. And, you know, I've done things like that in the past. Like I've just said, you know what, I'm just not going to use this now, and I want to see if I can do it. You know, take the training wheels off, so to speak, or whatever. And it's made me a better player. So I get why people say machine intelligence makes the game too easy, but even though I don't, like I said, I don't completely agree with them because of that fact. Anyway, let's move on. So now we have Megacorp, and I'm sad to say, Megacorp, I want to put it into S tier, but I can't. Because it has a glaring weakness, and that is that it becomes less relevant the more DLCs you get. And you know me, I have a lot of DLCs. Now, if you're a vanilla player and you get Megacorp and Megacorp only, and just leave it at that, this is absolute S tier. It is amazing authority. It's still, A is great. A is a great tier. There's nothing wrong with A at all. It's just, it's not good under all conditions, right? It's very RNG dependent. The success of Megacorp is very RNG dependent. You could get into a game and it'll all be Gestalts and other Megacorps. You could get into a game and it could be all hostile empires like Determined Exterminator or Fnatic Purifier. You know, for whatever reason, you can't make those branch offices, right? Even when you're a criminal syndicate. For that reason alone, it makes it very difficult to be consistent with a Megacorp. And to not feel like you're just wasting your origin or wasting your build, right? I felt that way one of my last games. As you saw, one of my most recent builds, I ended the run mostly in part because I was not able to play the game because there was only one empire out of the 9 that I had contact with where I could build anything on. And the worst part is too, is that those Megacorps that spawn in that map with you, they are also building branch offices where you could have built them. So yeah, because of that weakness, I can't put it at the top tier anymore. But I really do enjoy it. I highly recommend anybody to pick it up and play it anyway. Give it a try. I mean, you can always deactivate the other DLCs and get a better experience that way. But yeah, basically the more Gestalts that you can have in your empire, the less effective this is going to be. Now, that doesn't mean that you could have a lot of DLC and still get lucky and spawn next to a lot of different standard empires. That's happened to me many times. I played a Megacorp and I happened to be on a galaxy map, especially if you pick a large one with a lot of empires. And have the three or four spawning around me be, you know, friendly standard empires. That's actually the best situation. And if you get a situation like that, you are unstoppable as a megacorp, especially with all the diplomatic vassalization and stuff. So yeah, that's the authority, guys. So we are we need to move along here. Goddamn. I'm trying, guys. I really am. I'm trying my best. But anyway, there you have it. So authorities in S tier, we have Imperial, Hive Mind, Machine Intelligence, Megacorp, Megacorp in A tier, Dictatorial in B tier, and Democratic and Oligarchic in C tier. So that's the final results. Let's go ahead and switch. I'm having to switch between scenes here. Sorry. Okay, so all right, let's talk about ethics. Ethics are very subjective too, and basically, I don't think any ethic is like 100% better than the others. I think any ethic can be extremely good. So why don't we just kind of group these together at once? I'm not really going to cover the ethics or go into a lot of the why. I'm going to try to avoid that because we don't have a lot of time. So obviously Gestalt is going to be S tier. I mean, I just got done talking about all the S tier Gestalt authorities. Why would I not put that in S tier? Yeah, Gestalt's amazing. Don't knock it before you try it. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, if you haven't tried Gestalt, you should. You're definitely missing out. So put that there. So that's out of the way. So let's start with militarist. Okay, so well, let's start with S tier. What ethics are in S tier? Okay. Now again, I'm gonna rate these ethics not based on like power really necessarily, but more like usefulness. Like how many cool builds does picking this ethic allow me to play? You know, builds that are important to me, right? Like Determined Exterminator and you know the civic builds and the Gestalt builds and whatnot. So in fact, I'm gonna ignore the different types of the same ethic. So I'm just gonna put xenophobe. I'm not gonna put venetic xenophobe and regular xenophobe. I'm just gonna pick it in general. So I think xenophobe really I'm even if I didn't want to, I'd be forced to put it in S tier. Absolutely. There is some absolute cool shit that you can do in this game with the xenophobe ethic. It's not for the faint of heart though, obviously. You're being an asshole. If you pick xenophobe, you're an asshole. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with being an asshole sometimes. I mean, I am an asshole a little bit. Well reformed, well you know, well adjusted as much as I can be, asshole. But I like I said, I'm not always the nicest guy in the world. So yeah, xenophobe isn't nice, right? So if you are really nice and you really don't like meanness or people being mean or being mean yourself, you know, if you're really against being mean in any way, like, yeah, xenophobe's probably not going to be your top tier. But if you can get past that, if you can get past the ideology, if you can get past the feelings, xenophobe is incredible. It gives you incredible opportunities. There are incredible builds that you can build from xenophobe, especially with standard empires. And it has great bonuses as well. So xenophobe's definitely going to be an S tier. So you know what? I'm going to stay with the Stellaris screen. And then once I've completed that section, for the tier list, I will reveal the tier list and then show you everything that's on it, if you can even read it. Yeah, unfortunately, we're doing kind of a poor man's tier list there. Not that I'm really that poor. So, militarist. Let's see. Okay, so S tier, xenophobe. I would be stupid if I didn't put as much as I don't want to, I know that there are some absolute meta builds that do egalitarian. So I have to put them in S. I have to put it in S. There is, just like xenophobe, there are some absolute bangers that you can produce with egalitarian. It definitely has. It definitely has earned its place there, regardless of whether I like it or not. So, obviously, it's not my favorite ethic. Not going to go into the reasons why that is, obviously, but you know, yeah, because that'd be going into the realm of, we don't talk about that on this channel. So, but anyway, materialist, same thing. Really cannot argue the merits of materialist. There is some stupid ass builds, like in a good way, stupid builds that that's required for. And also the bonuses are really good. And egalitarian is good bonuses too. That special resource bonus is formidable. Bonus that is formidable. That is very attractive. In fact, that's the only reason I've ever really picked it most of the time, is I look at that and go, okay, well, I want to do science. Let's do this. Yeah, if you want to do science, if you are doing a technology-based build, egalitarian and materialist is almost required. It's either a combination of the both or one or the other. You're going to be doing one or the other. Really almost impossible not to, if you're doing a tech-based build. Tech rushing, basically. There's so many, all the tech rushing builds require these, so, and they're the most powerful, arguably, not really arguably, it's kind of self-evident. A lot of the most dominant builds I've seen in my time playing Stellaris have been, tech rushing builds. I mean, just from videos I've seen, my own personal experience, you can absolutely do some exploitative, gimmicky, broken shit with those two civics, or those two ethics, and xenophobe as well. So that's S tier. Let's get to A tier. So what do we got for the A tier? So I gotta say spiritualist is A tier. It's at least A tier. I almost wanted to put it at S, but see, the thing of it is, it's just I only want to put the best of the best there. So spiritualist, especially for me, is definitely A tier, though it's high A tier. It's very close to S. There is an incredible amount of stuff you can do with spiritualists as well. Stupid broken stuff. A lot of gimmicks with spiritualists too. The name cheaters of the shroud. Has anybody ever heard of that? Yeah, that requires spiritualist, obviously. There's other things too. Cybernetic Creed, really good origin that requires spiritualist. And also, Unity is still a very powerful resource. Now, I think research is more powerful, potentially, but you're still going to have a good time if you bank hard on Unity. Especially with the new megastructures that have come out. If you've got a great Unity gain, you can pump out arc furnaces and Dyson swarms like nobody's business. I've done it. And it's very powerful. So, there's powerful Unity bonuses with here. Also, edict funds, or fake Unity, which is basically the same thing. So, obviously there is a weakness with spiritualist, and that is you can't have robots, or at least fanatic, I think. You can have robots, but they aren't as effective. That's more accurate. You can use robots, but they are, yeah, they're just slaves, and that can bring its problems. But yeah, while you can still have robots, they're less effective. Well, I don't even know if they can be advanced workers, which is also really bad. So Spiritualist is an A tier. I tell you right now, I love, like, when I was playing standard, I'd pick authoritarian almost every time. I really would. Not so much anymore, because I don't really play standard that much anymore. You know, I play the Gestalts and I play, you know, Xenophobes. But the problem with authoritarian is that it really doesn't have any builds that really stand out, like power-wise. But they're all, but any build you make from this will be halfway decent. And also, the main draw from authoritarian comes from the bonuses themselves, particularly influence. Now, I just talked to you about why influence gain is so highly valued. At least to me, I don't see why it wouldn't be to anybody else. It just makes sense. And then, you know, not as powerful as egalitarian with the resource bonus, but almost. I mean, worker resource is still really good. You know, more energy credits, more food, more minerals, which also translates to the more advanced resources, right? So yeah, there's really no downside to taking this bonus-wise. The thing that makes authoritarian not S tier is just the lack of absolute legendary builds that that you can produce from authoritarian are a lot less than xenophobe or egalitarian or materialist. Okay, so let me go ahead and type that in. So A. So we got spiritualist and authoritarian. Now, the next one, of course, is going to be xenophile, and I am going to put that at A tier, simply because how fun it is. Now, there aren't a lot of really banger builds. It's actually even worse than authoritarian in that respect. But having those extra envoys, it's not required, but it's absolutely useful to any build out there that engages in diplomacy or where diplomacy is required or very useful to that build. I highly recommend Xenophile for that. It's a great supporting. So, you know, Xenophile is absolutely required in a trade build. You do not want to go without it, obviously, because it has trade bonuses. So why would you not min-max that shit? At the very least. So there's that. So with trade builds, Xenophile is absolutely required. You know, and it is a lot of fun. The extra envoys are very useful. And it'll save your ass. You're actually a lot more likely to not get rushed in the beginning of the game if you're a Xenophile. You know, now if you get spawned next to, you know, a Devouring Swarm or, you know, Fnatic Purifier, will get fucked. But other than that, anyone else, especially a Belligerent Empire or you know, normal standard Empire, is gonna like you if you put enough envoys on it normally. Though we did see an instance where they were a jerk and still rivaled me anyway. That can happen, but it doesn't happen very often. I just got extremely unlucky. And I don't think I had enough envoys to begin with. Like, if you do it right, like say you pick Fnatic Xenophile, you can grab all those 2 extra envoys, plus the 2 envoys you start with, and then you could have other civics and bonuses that give you more envoys, and you could just dogpile the same empire with all those envoys doing improved relations, and the opinion will skyrocket and the trust will skyrocket, especially if you have diplomatic relations or that civic with diplomacy that gives you extra envoys and makes improved relations more effective. Especially if you're planning on being a federation, it's better for federations. Also, you know, the diplomacy tradition. So anything that has to do with diplomacy, Xenophile is going to excel at. So that's why it's A tier, because it is still really good. It's just the builds that it works in aren't nearly as powerful as the builds that Xenophobe, Egalitarian, and Materialist work in, and Gestalt, of course. So we're gonna go ahead, make sure nobody's chatting. Okay. Let's see. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. So I'll write that down. So now for my favorite ethic, sarcasm. Pacifist. And pacifist isn't bad. You know, and there really is no ethic that's bad. Oh, materialist or militarist. I forgot about that one. So militarist is weird. Okay? It really is. It's weird. It's like one of those things that I want to put higher, but let's face it, I really don't use it that much. Not nearly as much as this other stuff. I don't. I'm looking back on it, it's like, nah, man. Like even when I'm playing a war empire or whatever, you know, I'm either when I'm playing a conquering empire, I'm either Gestalt or Xenophobe or, you know, fanatic Xenophobe. Or I'm authoritarian, or now I think militarist really where it fits in. It is a support ethic. Okay, that's what I think it is. I think it's an ethic that you pick in addition to something else. You know, either a third pick or a second pick. But like fanatic militarist, yeah, there are some builds that could be fun or are fun. I'm not saying there aren't, but as far as like raw power, you know, being overpowered or whatever, just in terms of power, there's really nothing that comes from militarist that is just an absolute banger. I can't think of any. Now you can do Fanatic Purifier, which is a really good one. You can do that one with Fanatic Militarist, I think, and you don't. But I still think you have to pick up Xenophobe. So yeah, either way, any of the builds that require Militarist, they also require one of the S tier ones. So, and there aren't many. So really, as far as like how often I pick it, I'm gonna have to put it at B. I don't want to. I like, you know me, I like fighting. Fighting's cool. So I guess my hope for militarist in the future is maybe, you know, Paradox takes a look at it and goes, you know what, we should come out with more builds. You know, talking about, again, mentioning my video, the DLC centered around warfare, you know, and the complete overhauling of it. That'd be a great opportunity for them to do that, to expand on the militarist ethic and make more banger builds surround around that. But you know what? You know what the sad thing is, guys? I'm going to call Paradox out right now. I think Paradox are pacifists. That's what I think. I think they're pacifists. It's kind of getting obvious, isn't it? If you think about it. Why don't they fix the war system? Why is it so annoying? Why is it so difficult? Not difficult, but just annoying. Why is it feel like work and a chore and not, you know, a, you know, typical dopamine hit? I don't get a real dopamine rush when I'm doing war in Stellaris. It is just fucking whack-a-mole from beginning to end. Yeah, it's work. Why would they do those things? Why would they not make war enjoyable if they were fans of it? So it's kind of like the hints are kind of obvious, you know, what their belief system might be. So yeah, I think Paradox are pacifists. I think that's the problem. Speaking of pacifists, that is also B tier. I almost want to put it at C tier. If I had my way, I would, but there is legit shit with pacifists too. I have heard from many viewers. I have seen many comments. I have seen videos where pacifist is just as viable a pick as the other ones in its own way. So I do respect it as an ethic, but yeah, again, it's just not. I don't use it. I don't use it. I'm not a pacifist. So me personally, based on subjective opinion, it's at least at the most B tier, if not C tier. I want to put it at C tier, just because I want to hate on it, but I'm not gonna. So we'll move on. So yeah, and let's go ahead and switch scenes here. Okay, so this is what we have for all the ethics. So for S, we have Gestalt, Xenophobe, Egalitarian, and Materialist. Okay. For A tier, we have Authoritarian, Spiritualist, and Xenophile. For B tier, which is the last tier for this, is we have Militarist and Pacifist. So that's where I rank them. Really, you can't really rank an ethic F tier or derp tier simply because it's just kind of impossible. You know, I don't really think I need to explain that. Even though I would love to put pacifist in derp tier, chuckle, but you know, but I'm just hating there, so it you know, gotta disregard that. So let's get to the next thing here. Now I gotta ask myself, do I have time to go over the civics? I don't know, guys. I really don't think I can. Let's get honest here. If I'm being honest, I really don't think I have enough time. I got about... Most of my streams do not last more than 2 hours. There's a lot of reasons for that. But most of them last till about this time or 15 minutes after this. And I really don't think... I don't even think just an hour is enough time to discuss all of the different civics. In fact, I think what we're going to have to do, to be honest, because there's so many, and so many important ones, big bangers too, I think really we're just going to have to make it a multi-parter, honestly. I see that happening. Because there's just too much explaining to be had. Too much explaining, too much, you know, well, for one, every ethic you pick, like each authority you pick, depending on your ethic and authority, your lineup of civics will be completely different. So I'll have to explain the civics for, or go over the civics for hive mind. Then I'll have to go over the ones for machine. Then I'll have to go over the ones for megacorp. And then for each one of those other authorities, or after that, I'll just, you know, I can, because you can look at the ones that are darked out. So that'll be at least easy there. But this will not be easy overall. I'll have to, so we could probably look at vanilla first, then do Gestalt, starting with hive mind, machine intelligence, and then we could end with megacorp, and then that'll be everything. I think that's our game plan there. So, but yeah, there is no way in hell that I'm going to be able to cover all these in the next 30 minutes. There isn't. You know me. I talk too much. When I'm not scripted, I talk way too much. It's a problem. I'm aware of it. So anyway, wasn't a lot of people on here today. I'm concerned that maybe my mic was bad or something's going on. Feeling a little bit of insecurity there. But you know what? It's cool. I mean, like I said, until the YouTube algorithm stops stop treating streams like the redheaded stepchild, yeah, I'm probably not going to get a lot of views with these streams. I'm just doing it for fun. And I'll just make shorts from it. So, but you know what? So that's it. I made my decision. We are going to continue this tomorrow with civics. Okay. So this was, I think I could leave it as government and ethics or ethics and authority. I think that's what I'll put there. So we covered ethics and authority, and we will do civics tomorrow. I think what I will do, actually, I think it would make sense for it to be a 3 or 4-parter. Maybe a 4-parter. I think, yeah, probably a 4-parter. The first part will be vanilla empires, right? So what civics if I'm just playing a biological standard empire, you know, gray and not gray. Okay. So we'll go over all these right here in the first stream. Then we will go over Gestalt, and starting with hive mind. So the second part will be hive mind. We'll go through all of those. That stream might be a little short, and it's okay if they're a little short. That's fine. These are specials, so they can go as long or as short as they need to. And then we'll do you know, machine intelligence. Of course, we have to pick machine species, but anyway, we'll do machine intelligence, and then we'll do megacorp on the last stream. So it, yeah, pretty much a 4-parter. Anyway, stick around for that. I'll see you tomorrow on that. And then, so one quick recap here. Go ahead and switch to the tier list. So today, here's a tier list again, one last time. All right, so in S tier, we have Imperial Authority, Hive Mind Authority, Machine Intelligence Authority, Gestalt, Ethic, Xenophobe Ethic, Egalitarian, Materialist. These are the powerhouses of Stellaris. Just about every great build, I guarantee you, just about every great build you have used has had one of these things in it. Guaranteed. There really isn't any other build out there. I don't know of any builds that don't have any of this in it. That are just absolute bangers, meaning they are stupid powerful or very popular or very fun. You know, the funnest, most powerful builds I have in my arsenal have one of these things in it. At least one, if not multiple. Many of them have many of these things at the same time. So, and then A tier, same thing. Megacorp, Spiritualist, Authoritarian, or Megacorp, Authority, Spiritualist, Ethic, Authoritarian Ethic, Fanatic, Xenophile. One, you can't really go wrong if you're playing vanilla and you pick one of these ethics. You're gonna have a decent time. Especially Authoritarian, especially Xenophile. Xenophile is great for learning the game because maybe you're not really good with the warfare and tactics and stuff, but if you can manipulate other empires through diplomacy and you learn how to do that, you could pretty much survive every single game intact without getting vassalized or eliminated. You know, without getting subjugated or eliminated. And that's kind of my goal. For me, my definition of survival is I didn't get subjugated or eliminated. But my conditions to win are I win. So whether it's a score screen or, you know, at 2,500 or it's, you know, eliminating every other empire. So, but yeah, that's A tier. And then B tier, we have dictatorial, militarist, pacifist. Those are basically your run-of-the-mill. You'll have an average experience if you use those, or if you use builds banking on those. Other than Under One Rule. Under One Rule is pretty much the reason why dictatorial's in B tier. But also its bonuses. make it better than democratic and oligarchic, in my opinion. You know, militarist and pacifist. You know, those are just, you know, it's really hard to put ethics any lower than that. But they are the weakest out of the ethics, in my opinion. Pacifist and militarist. There simply is not enough banger builds that can be nearly as many that can be made from those ethics as the other ethics. Democratic and oligarchic, stand alone, they are terrible. That's my opinion. Oligarchic, not as like the lesser of two evils, but they are overall terrible. Especially democratic, I think, really is the most terrible thing out of all this. I'm talking itself, standing on its own. Now, it enables some absolute banger builds, of course. But like I said, I'm not counting that because it doesn't make those banger builds better. Not really. It just enables them to exist in the first place. It's a requirement, nothing more. It's not actually good. So as an authority, it is terrible, in my opinion. It's the most terrible authority and really the most useless thing, at least to me, on this list. I even find pacifist. I mean, pacifist has some okay bonuses, but democratic has nothing. There's really nothing on there that really impacts me in a way that's pleasurable. Everything on there is just, oh, why would I want an election every 10 years? Oh, why would I care about that bonus? You know? No thanks. So yeah, the loser of the tier list is democratic. The winner, now I have to pick a winner. That's hard. Because we have a whole list here of winners. But honestly, I'd have to give it to machine intelligence. Can you really argue with me after everything? Hey, glad you're here, Celt Warrior. I'm really sorry you missed it out again, man. Maybe I need to stream later. I don't know. I've thought about it. It seems like you guys don't really come on until like 10 or 11 o'clock. Maybe you guys are in Central Time or West Coast. Maybe that's a possibility. You know, you're in LA or something and you just got home from work. I think that would be about this time, right? See, so 3 hours behind the East Coast. Start at 9 or 10. So especially in LA, yeah, you would, or deep in California, California City, you would be. That's about a 2-hour commute. Yeah, I could see that. Sounds about right. I'm not assuming that you live in that area, but so I might change my time. I've thought about it. Okay, so you're a night owl. You are Eastern, but you're a night owl. Okay. Yeah, so I am plus 13 right now. I'll be plus 12 in March. I think they'll fast forward the clock. You know, the daylight savings will kick in again, and then I'll be exactly 12 hours ahead, and it'll be easy to predict again. But yeah, right now I have to add that extra hour on. It's kind of annoying, but even here in the Philippines, daylight savings fucks with me, right? I always hated daylight savings. I did. But yeah, so the winner, I have to crown somebody. I have to crown something, and I tell you, the winner of this tier list is machine intelligence. It is just, how can you argue with it? After all of the DLC and the meta build videos and all of that, like, most of them have one thing in common. They're doing machine in some way, you know, or they have something to do with it. So it's really just kind of, yeah. But anyway, so that's it, guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Celt Warrior, good seeing you again, man. And even if you appear at the end of my stream, still worth it. Still worth seeing you, man. Appreciate you being on the show. You haven't done machines yet, dude? Okay. If you have not done machines, viewers, you owe it to yourself. You've not played Stellaris till you played machines. I don't care. Don't listen to the people that tell you that it's easy. You make your own difficulty. Machines are awesome. They are awesome. I'm telling you. It's like, yeah, they're overpowered, but like in a fun way, in a really fun way. Obviously, you don't want to do machine all the time. You know, you don't want to do machine all the time, obviously. That'd be like basically if you were let me give it a game analogy here. Like if you were basically the same character in a video in another video game all the time. No, you want to mix it up, right? Nothing wrong with mixing it up, but man, especially if you're looking to try something different. You haven't tried Machine Age or Synthetic Dawn, especially Synthetic Dawn, dude, you got to get it. And don't believe anybody else that says that Synthetic Dawn is obsolete because of Machine Age. That's bullshit. There are absolute banger civics that you will be missing if you don't get Synthetic Dawn. I would get them both Machine Age and Synthetic Dawn, absolutely required. If you don't care about the money, which I don't, but I know a lot of people do. So get it when it's on sale. But yeah, if you can get your hands on Machine Age or Synthetic Dawn, it is absolutely worth it. Anyway, well, I'm gonna get going, guys. You know, we were able to end at a decent time now. So I will catch you guys later, and I hope you have a good day, whatever you're doing. Kel Warrior, good seeing you again, man. Take care.